Good morning, monkeys. How are you today? Well, actually, by the time you get this, it'll be the afternoon, but it's pretty early in the morning for me. And for the first time, the sun is shining and it's quite warm. When I say quite warm, I mean it's like 8 degrees. Although I'm told we're getting more snow this weekend over Easter. Oh. I love it, it's very pretty, but it is not at all good for my business. So, let's carry on with our story, shall we? This is chapter 16, and it's called What Happened in Rockingland. So, the last time we saw these guys, Saucepan Man had gone up through the hole at the top of the clouds at the top of the magic faraway tree, and they had heard him crashing in, banging, and they thought he was being attacked. So, everyone climbed up through the hole after him, and then they got stuck in another land which was called Rocking Land, and the land just moved like this. I think I would be a bit seasick actually. And then the hole down to the magic faraway tree left or disappeared, so they are now stuck in Rocking Land. Right. The Rocking Land was really most annoying. No sooner did the children stand up very carefully and try to walk a few steps than the earth beneath them either fell away or tipped or slanted sideways in a very alarming manner. They went and down, then down they all went, rolling over and over. Oh, excuse me, it's quite early, I'm still quite tired. The saucepan man made a tremendous noise and almost cried when he saw how battered his saucepans and kettles were getting. Moonface, yelled Joe, how can we get out of here? Don't you know? We can only get out of here by going down the ladder that leads to the faraway tree, shouted Moonface, who was so busy rolling down a little hill that had suddenly appeared that he couldn't hardly talk. Look for it all the time, or we'll never get away from here. As soon as the rocking land leaves the place of the faraway tree, we've no way of escaping. That gave the others a bit of a shock. The thought of living in the land of bumps and jolts was not at all pleasant. They all began to look about for the hole through which they had come into the rocking land. Soon the earth began to do something very different. It heaved up and down very quickly, as if it were breathing fast. When it heaved up, it threw the children and the others into the air. When it breathed down, they rolled into the holes and stayed there. It was really all dreadfully uncomfortable. I'm getting awfully bruised, shouted Beth. For goodness sake, let's find the place on this land where it's not quite so fidgety. Gosh, I'm very yawny this morning. Sorry. I think we must be on the worst bit. As soon as the earth stopped heaving about, they all ran as hard as they could to where the wood grew, and there, just inside the wood, they saw a shop. It was such a surprising thing to see in the rocking land that they all stopped and stared. What does it sell? Said Joe. You don't feel well, said the saucepan man, quite deaf for a time. I don't either. I feel as if I've been on a ship in a very rough sea. I said, what does the shop sell? Said Joe. No, I didn't hear a bell, said the saucepan man, looking around as if he expected an enormous bell somewhere. Joe gave up. He looked hard at the shop. It was just a wide stall with a tiny house behind it. No one seemed to be there, but smoke rose from the chimney, so someone must live there, Joe thought. Come on, he said to the others. Take hold of the others' hands so that we can keep together. We'll go and see this funny little shop and see if we can get help. They walked in, and the stall was piled high with cushions of all colours, each one with a rope tied to it. How funny, Beth said in astonishment. Cushions with ropes. Now, who in the world would want to buy a cushion here? Well, I would, for one, said Moonface at once. My goodness, if I had a fine fat cushion tied to the front of me and another tied to the back, I wouldn't mind being bumped about nearly so much. Oh, of course. That's what the cushions and the ropes are for, Beth said joyfully. Let's buy some, and then we shan't get bruised anymore. Then a sharp-nosed little woman with cushions tied all around her came out of the tiny little house and looked at the children. She even had a small cushion tied to her head. She did look pretty funny. Franny giggled. She was a dreadful giggler. The woman looked cross and glared at her. "Do you want to buy my cushions?" she said. "Yes, please," said Moonface. "How much are they?" They're 5 silver pieces each," said the woman, her little green eyes shining as she saw Moonface putting his hand in his pocket for the money. Moonface looked at her in dismay. "That price is much too high. I've only got one silver piece. Have you got any money, Saucepan Man?" "No, I don't sell honey," said the Saucepan Man. Oh, Saucepan Man. "Money, money, money," shouted Moonface, showing the Saucepan Man his 1 silver piece. "Oh, money," he said, taking out a round leather bag from one of his kettles. "Yes, I have plenty in here." But the round leather bag was empty. The Saucepan Man said in dismay, "All my money must have fallen out when I rolled about. There's just nothing left." The children had no money at all. The sharp-nosed little woman shook her head when Moonface begged her to lend them some cushions in return for his silver piece. "I don't lend anything," she said crossly, and went back to her house, banging the door loudly. "It's too bad," said Moonface, taking hold of Joe's hand and walking off gloomily. "She's such a mean old thing. Oh, look, there's some more people, all wearing cushions." Sure enough, they met plenty of odd-looking folk, well padded with cushions of all colours and sizes and shapes, walking carefully about the path. One man wore quite a big quilt around him, which Beth thought was quite a good idea. "The rocking land is quite peaceful for a change," she said to Franny. But she spoke too soon, for even as she said these words, the earth began to heave up, first one way and then the other. Over went the children, and everyone else rolled here and there and up and down as the land jumped up in one place, then another. "Ow!" groaned all the children. "I wish we had a few cushions," cried Moonface, who had rolled on his nose and bent it sideways. Crash, clank, bang went the Saucepan Man, rolling on his kettles and pans very noisily. "Oh, look!" shrieked Beth suddenly in delight, and pointed towards the little wood where the shop was. The earth had ridden steeply upwards, and the cushions were all rolling down towards the children. "Grab them!" shouted Joe. So they all caught the cushions and began to tie them firmly around themselves. My goodness, it did make a difference when they rolled around. "Serves that mean old woman right," said the Saucepan Man, trying his hardest to put cushions around his saucepans. Suddenly, one of the people in the rocking land gave a frightened shout and clutched hold of a nearby tree. A strange wind blew through with a low, musical sound. "What's going to happen?" cried Moonface. "Get hold of a tree! Get hold of a tree!" shouted the people who ran about. "When the wind makes that sound, the whole land is going to tip up and sideways and try to roll everyone off. Your only hope is to catch hold of a tree." And sure enough, the land was tipping up, but not in bits and pieces as it had done before, but the whole of it. It was extraordinary. Moonface was quite frightened. He tried to get to a tree as he shouted to the others, "Catch hold of a tree, hurry up!" But not one of them could, because they had left the wood behind, and they were in a field. Slowly and surely the land tipped sideways, and the children and Moonface and old Saucepan Man began to roll down the hill on their cushions. They weren't bruised, but they were very frightened. What would happen to them if they rolled right off the land? Down they went, nearer and nearer to the edge of the rocking land, and then quite suddenly Moonface disappeared. Down and down they went, nearer and nearer to the edge of the rocking land, and then quite suddenly Moonface disappeared. One moment he was there, and the next moment he was gone. It was most peculiar. But in half a minute they heard his voice, lifted up in great excitement, and said, I say, everybody, I've fallen down a hole to the ladder that leads to the faraway tree quite by accident. I'll throw my cushions up so you'll know where it is. Roll to it if you can, but hurry." Then the children and Saucepan Man saw 2 cushions appear. They knew where the hole was, and they ran as fast as they could. They did their best to roll to it, and one by one they got nearer and nearer. Beth rolled right down, plop, and caught hold of the ladder as she fell. Joe rolled next and missed the ladder and landed with a bump on the top branch of the faraway tree. The Saucepan Man rolled next to it, but he got stuck in the hole for he was now so fat with cushions tied around him, as well as his kettles and saucepans, that he could hardly get through. "Oh, quick, quick, quick!" shouted Joe. "Get in, Saucepan Man, get in! Poor Franny will roll right past the hole if you don't hurry up." Saucepan Man saw Franny was rolling past. Poor Franny. Once she rolled past the hole, she couldn't possibly get back again, for it would all be uphill. Quick as lightning, the Saucepan Man reached out his hand and caught hold of one of the ropes that tied Franny's cushion to her back. So she stopped with a jerk. One of Saucepan Man's kettles gave way, and he fell through the hole in the ladder, making a tremendous noise. Moonface caught him, and then the Saucepan Man gave a tug on Franny's rope, and she came down the hole too, landing softly on top of the branch of the faraway tree, for she was well padded with her cushions. "Well, thank goodness for that you found the hole, Moonface," said everybody, looking rather scared. "What an adventure that was." Wow. That does not sound like a land I would want to be in at all. Not at all. So that's the end of that chapter. I'm going to send another one quite quickly just to see if we can catch up, because I only sent you one last week, didn't I? Hope you guys are all well. Keep sending me the voice messages. I really, really like them. And love you lots, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye, guys.